My dear journal, I write within you so that if one day my body shall perish, my thoughts can be carried on to another. Currently, I am huddled with several semi-strangers in the God Source, save an unknown one. For now, let me tell you a bit about what I know of my companion. Hopefully, it will not be in vain. On the second day of the government-mandated mind scan, we all read. As our numbers were coming up, the building on the outside looked to be an abandoned warehouse, but inside it was your standard government clean waiting room, most dot offices. Before us,
Good afternoon, everyone. We are so glad you could make it here today. The scan will take no more than a few minutes once you are all properly connected to the machine. Everyone will be scanned at the same time in order to maximize efficiency and minimize anxiety. As long as there are no complications or abnormal readings, you will be all set until the next scan in 1 year's time. If the scan for whatever reason is unsuccessful, there will be a low beeping sound emitted from your headpiece and someone will come to assist you. We ask that you remain as still, silent, and relaxed as possible.
several people had their hands stamped with purple stamps. They entered first. My hand was stamped with gold, as was the others in my group. I don't recall how much time passed exactly. It seemed like quite a while before those of us with gold stamps were called into the room. Among those waiting with me were a couple of men and a few women, the most notable of which is the famous Keidras, formerly of the metal band Rune, who recently started a solo career with his debut solo album Ritual. Mr. Chaos seems to be in need of a happy adjustment. His time was spent mostly swearing and his head buried in his plume, talking to an agent he called Stefan. His wild black, unkept hair, a matching soul patch, and red-rimmed glasses, almost as red as my hair. And he has milk-white skin. He could not contain the energy exuberating from this man. Desmond Domingo Chavez is the third male of our group. A bit short, but another exploding personality, somewhat resembling a mix of dreadlocks and not being sure if he wanted to commit fully, being rather short eyes. Des was the first to truly befriend me. This man seems to have an addiction to lightning tabs and nebby weed. He also carries around a very loud revolver. Not to assume gender. The three others with us, I assume at the moment to be female, though they have yet to volunteer their names. The first to speak was a lady slightly older than the rest of us, her most defining characteristics being her red hair and angry, scolding, mother-like aura. Perhaps not one I'd want to get on the bad side of, but Beck doesn't want to be on the bad side of anyone. The second woman, most likely the middling of the three, if not tied in years for our sixth minority member, wearing black shoes and black fishnets and a black dress and black rimmed glasses and, wait for it, her hair is purple. Deputy guessed it on that one, Opac did, didn't he? She also appears to have a tattoo on her shoulder, though I have not yet got a good look at it. Before going into the mind scans, she mentioned feeling sick. I may need to look into her potential illness to fulfill my medical duties if it comes to that, but that can wait. The last lady to join us in the government mind center for the gold group is a young lady with long black hair who also appeared to be the most dangerous from her outward appearance. An air of cunning betrayed by her youth. Most likely a woman forced to grow up too early. It's no wonder some of our group have been called for this mind scan. She arrived in a crop top bag full of potentially dangerous unknowns and sporting a hands-free plume device. Of course, we also have Peck, or myself, the tallest of the group, most handsome, with red hair, a long red beard, green eyes, but you have already heard part of my story, so let us continue on in the government mind scan building. When it was our turn to enter the room for the mind scan, we all advanced, but something was not quite right. The door had locked behind us. There are no windows. It was once a pleasant smell of baked goods and cookies and brownies to some. Started to smell like a field of poppies, as you may know, have long been used as a symbol of sleep and used in chemical warfare in the past. Eventually, all of us passed out. We awoke all in separate chambers with no windows. A few hours later, a plume said it had been 4. I'm not quite sure, but I'll say it was correct. The screen in the room told us to meet in the center. In what we thought was the center of the room were flyers for all of the recently missing. A few had mentioned the Godsway on them. We all had all of our gear, including any weaponry. I thought to myself, why were these people bringing weapons to a government mind scan? How were they not confiscated beforehand? But I still had my medical bag and supplies at least. The 6 of us searching the connecting corridors and rooms mostly discovered small rooms and closets. Not being sure if this was real, or if we were hallucinating, I asked my newfound friend Des to punch me. He obliged rather quickly by hitting me in the stomach, after, of course, asking if I was sure. So the pain was enough to let me know that this was no hallucination or alternate reality. Or if it was, it It was a very, very good one. Too full of those synapses. The women searched the rooms to the south, and the men searched the rooms to the north. Mr. Chaos screamed and cursed some more. Des took more hits of lightning, and I let life just lead where it leads. There's only so much a man can do. The ladies had a bit more luck, finding a flashlight and some batteries. The hallway south led to a room with multiple screens and surveillance equipment, so it was a locker room. In the locker room there was a change of clothes and several backpacks with tags on that had our names on them. Bits jarring, if you ask me. Mine contained a blow dart gun, some darts, metal bearings, several unidentified vials. One smelled of poppies, probably a sleeping potion or agent, similar to the one that was probably used on us. One smelled of the earth and vile, muddy, swampy water, possibly a toxin or a poison. And the third had no smell, and I'm kind of having trouble identifying exactly what it may be, but we will find out. Supposedly these will become helpful in our adventure here. In the screen room, there was a message that played. The purple-haired girl changed clothes in a uniform that was left in one of the lockers, and Des played more of the recording. After the recording,
You were. What happened to?
Don't.
See them? Talk to.
Can't. It's all gone. I know.
Can't. Over. Did you get home?
Don't. Remember.
What is the last thing you remember?
Find her.
Did you? Quickly, subject is, let me out. Open the door. Please.
the young one. She pulled out a bladed boomerang after watching a video file. I told you she was probably dangerous. Des asks her, and all the ladies for their name. None of them answer. Once again, I can see why they may have failed a government-mandated happiness check. Everyone here has been very unhappy. I wonder, possibly, how I could have failed, so there must be some other reason I am here. Perhaps to help guide them back to enlightenment. As far as I can tell, at least 4 of them seem to be lost souls. Possibly we all are. I can't help but feel at this moment we are just rats in a cage being experimented on. In the screen room, we discover a potential exit. It says, knock knock, above the door. Mr. Chaos kicks the door, and the door responds, who's there? Mr. Chaos nicely knocks on the door, and the door responds, who's there? Mr. Chaos says, it's Kyle, and the door responds, who's there? I suggest maybe he wants all of our names. Des suggests perhaps a joke, and the red-haired mother agrees. The screens on one again say, go to the center. So myself and Des and Kyle, in his frustration, return to what we assumed was the center where the papers were before. But shortly after that, the purple-haired girl, she said, the door wanted a joke. And the weird-haired, scolding mother figure delivered, I'll spare you the details. The room entered in a warehouse-style building with a few living accommodations, and a woman with spiky white hair, who later we would call Ren or Renegade. Not exactly your best government call sign if she indeed works for the government. Mr. Chaos asked, why the fuck are you? Where are we? The white hair woman replied, you're late. Why are they always late? The last bunch took 4 hours just to wake up. Me, of course, being the positive one that I am, told Ren that I liked her hair, and she said she liked mine as well. Kyle also said he liked her hair, but it was not as thoughtful as my suggestion. Des wondered what was going on. Our rouge friend said it's an experiment. Kyle, at this time, insulted Ren by calling her a pixie nightmare girl. But I diffused the situation a bit by recommending that might be a good source of a song name for Mr. Chaos. Ren tries to explain the situation to us, but she doesn't do such a great job of it. She mentions we need to leave in a few hours, that we only have 24 hours to accomplish some task of saving someone, that we should have been debriefed, and she was amazed that we were not. Perhaps we are not the ones who are supposed to be here, but these packs had our names on it, so who knows. Renegade gives the young, possibly dangerous one a necklace, saying it will help her in some way. We are informed to be quiet and be alert. Avoid a man with a ticking clock at all costs, and hurry once we're in the Godsway. After a brief respite, the warehouse doors open to what seemed to be another world, an ethereal landscape of blues and purples with trees and animals even I have never seen. A brief sketch of one of the creatures we first saw is colored here. An obvious magical world. The trees here drop bioluminescent spores, almost imperceptible to the naked eye. We are constantly breathing them in. Myself and Mr. Chaos attempt to minimize the foreign intrusion using our scarves, though it may already be too late. While traveling the paths, 9 baby owlbears come rustling out of the woods. They mostly ignore us as we continue on. They lag a bit behind, studying these mythological creatures that only read about in books and had never even truly believed existed until this moment. In the distance, we heard a loud shriek, and most likely it was coming from the parents. On instinct, as soon as the first adult owlbear shows itself, Diz shot it with his revolver, much to my regret. They most likely only wanted to see their babies. Mr. Chaos then steps forward and says the words, "Prohibere!" The wind comes around him, and it was said very forcefully. I'm unaware of the effect of what this magical words Mr. Chaos has suddenly conjured, but we will see what other magic Mr. Chaos may have with him. I, on the other hand, suggest avoiding conflict and covering our tracks. The young one says she thinks it is too late, but I have found that keeping a positive attitude tends to lead to positive results. The adult owlbears, in their anger and pain, let out a horrifying screech, drowning out even the vocals of Mr. Chaos, stunning most everyone other than myself and Lady Rouge. She attempted to grab one of the child owlbears by the scruff of its neck. It's a good thing she did not succeed, though. The mythical creatures are not like pups or cats, but imagine a baby bear with talons 3 feet long and the ability to turn its head 360 degrees with an oversized beak as deadly as any sword. Grabbing it by the scruff of its neck would not have prevented it from biting her hands off. She may not have survived. Wanting to avoid further violence, I used my innate control over breathing to summon a cloud of obscuring mist to cloak our presence and hopefully let the owlbears believe the threat had gone by. Another loud screech in the distance. This one more frightening that even the owlbears took heed. They ended up running towards us and their children and all ran back into the bushes, leaving us to be. It's unfortunate because I know baby owlbears can make great familiars. I can get one away from its brood safely, but that may be a fool's errand. But it would still be a nice companion to have. Might be a bit more happier than the rest of my compatriots. A renegade said we should carry on, and we all followed. At this point, we came to a cabin in the woods, among some ponds in the middle of a field. So this cabin that I am currently writing this journal entry in. When we got here, Renegade said we would need to wait until morning and not go outside, no matter what we heard or what happened. Several of us heard voices. We all heard my voice coming from outside of the cabin, begging for help, begging to be saved. And so I write. I get my mind off of what possible horrors await us, and possibly left, and to possibly let those behind us learn of what is ahead.